Imagine living in a country where the access to clear water is a privilege for a fortunate few. Or imagine living in a country where you would be afraid you could die out of the flu because even the basic medication is not existent. Or imagine living in a country where you would have to dig in the garbage for scraps of food or even share the smallest piece of candy with a dozen other kids. My name is Evi Poriazi. I am a 10th grader from Greece, and I'm here to talk about the pressing issue of extreme poverty in developing countries and how this also affects the rest of the world. Now, I would like to first focus on how in many countries, mainly in Africa but also in Asia, the basic human needs like water, food, or medical supplies that are taken for granted in the Western world are things that people have to struggle for. We see a lot of times images posted by non-profit organizations such as UNICEF, Doctors Without Borders, ActionAid, and others that present the situation in these countries. Let's take a closer look. We see a young child walking barefoot miles from home to go to school, if he or she is lucky enough to do so. Or we see a pregnant woman walking in scorching hot weather, carrying a big clay pot on her head to get some water that not only is dirty and polluted, but she and her family have to drink from to survive. Now, in comparison to the Western world, with the Western lifestyle and amenities, someone could say that this situation is unheard of, or impossible and unacceptable. Well, unfortunately, that's the everyday lifestyle for almost all inhabitants in developing countries, with varying degrees, of course, but still very prevalent. Consequently, the ugly side of young malnourished children with swollen bellies caused by starvation, or of people dying out of diseases that could be easily cured in the West since they don't have access to medication, is very common. A repercussion stemming from poverty in developing countries that I would also like to refer to is the unfortunate matter of child labor in place of education. Families can use as much help as they can possibly get since the conditions under which people live are extremely harsh. That is, parents choose not to send their children to school so that they can have an extra hand in the daily tasks. Sometimes they even send them from a really young age to hard labor, and these children end up working hours and hours under the blinding sun, barefoot with no protection whatsoever, miles from home. Therefore, they don't have time to go to school. They stay uneducated, and their chances for a better future away from this environment in a more stable and prospering country become fewer, to say the least. To conclude, I believe that the problems in developing countries are urgent and should be dealt with by us, the Western world, immediately. They constitute violations of the basic human rights, especially those of young children, since they prohibit them from growing up in a healthy way, learning the basic values of a prospering society. Western countries that influence significantly the rest of the world should not turn their eyes away, neglecting these people who struggle for their survival in developing countries. And via non-profit organizations and donations, each and every one of us should try to contribute to this mission for help. Thank you for your attention.